We want to talk about one of the issues that corporate America is now confronting, and that the racist imagery that is used to brand products for really centuries in this country. Big discussion here, and in helping us to understand how rebranding can play for companies. We invite into the program Doug Melville. He is with TWA North America, the Chief Diversity Officer and Corporate Response, to discuss the corporate response to not only the protest movements we're seeing, but rebranding that is a long time in coming. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. Nice to meet you.
You know, the most recent example of this is the Quaker Oats Aunt Jemima issue, but there was a movie, I think it's almost 20 years ago, Confederate States of America, which was a mockumentary, which was comedy. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it actually showed advertising in this country and overseas. There was a toothpaste still for sale in Japan that had a racist derogatory name. This has been part of our corporate culture and branding for years. How quickly can it change? Because we're seeing it change now, finally, very rapidly.
Yeah, well, actually, an interesting story. Thank you so much for having me here today on The Move. But PepsiCo is one of our creative partners at my ad agency, TBWA. So around a year ago in January of 2019, I went online to a variety of different auctions, and I invited myself to a meeting at PepsiCo, and I laid out many different old items of Aunt Jemima. I actually have some here today, some dolls, some cups, and I laid them all out for the PepsiCo executive team and said, we need to work on this. We don't need to make a public announcement or a statement about it, but this is something that we should start talking about, because we need to start eliminating these images and these representations from the products and brands that are currently across the marketplace. So when the announcement to eliminate Aunt Jemima came earlier this week, it was something that we had been working behind the scenes on them with. And then once Aunt Jemima, the announcement came out for her, Uncle Ben's, the announcement came out, Rastus came out from Cream of Wheat, the Eskimo Pie came out. So one of the things is just ensuring that your creative partners and all the diversity executives and Madison Ave executives are given a voice to help talk about these, because a lot of things in America, from the Confederate statues, they all represent symbolism, and we have to do better with encouraging and working with our creative partners and brands to help them understand these messages, because some things are just calcified over time and they become overlooked and people become used to them and become comfortable with them. So there is a solid movement right now to ensure and inform these companies and brands that we must evolve our imagery and start re-representing groups and products into the future, so we can not only grow our market share, but also stay in tune and stay relevant with the time.
Doug, it's Julie here. What has struck me also over the past several months is that brand seems to have taken on a new definition. In other words, in the past, your brand was the imagery, right? It was what you put out into the world. It seems like increasingly brand isn't just external, it's internal, because your customers care more about what kind of company you are. Would you say that's so? And does that also change your job a little bit in terms of
absolutely,
what you advise companies to do?
Absolutely. Now everybody is looking at what the brand values are. Before, it was very transactional. I like this product, I'll purchase this product. I'm interested, intrigued, or curious about this product. Let me be a consumer and contribute to that product's bottom line. But now the conversation is, what do the brands stand for? And it really starts internally with the customers and employees of the organization. So who works there? Are we listening to the employees? Are we hearing what they have to say? What are the employees saying online? So there's a new relationship that's happening with brands where there's an expectation of transparency and authenticity. And what I tell brands all the time is some brands really don't have a plan and they really don't have a strategy. So instead of just taking tactics and throwing them out there, we need to take this time to take a step back, take a beat, and then start developing programs that are authentic, that now take this new insight and information into their business model, because the operations and the changes that we're creating today will become the foundation of companies and offices tomorrow. So brands have to be aware of this, and they're hearing it not only internally from their own employee bases, but they're also hearing it from potential customers and current customers. So a brand's position on this time is being affected and listened to in a much wider area as the swim lanes are blurred between who's a consumer and who's an employee, and where everybody meets to communicate about that, which is on social media.
Hey, Doug, Jared Blickery here. Just kind of building on that, and going back to the original discussion, we've seen products that have been out for decades undergoing change right now. But what about new products? What is the thinking that goes into, let's say, a new product that you're helping to develop and market? What kind of steps and thought process do you have with your clients when you're talking about these things?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that if we're making a traditional piece of media art, which would be historically known as a television commercial, we're looking at all the casting. We look at each specific nuance of the campaign. What are the colors and shade of the hands in the campaign? What are the ethnicities of the different characters? Are they primary characters speaking? Are they secondary characters speaking? We're looking at the scripts to ensure there's no stereotypes or shortcuts taken in any of the copy or wording or visualization. On a wider angle, we're looking at who we hire in regards to the casting, director, set designer, editor. Are we hiring multicultural and women-owned businesses as part of that process? So in the yeah.
Along that line, though, in regards to rebranding, in an era where identity is so crucial, as we get rid of the racist identity that has been the brand, is there a place for the faces of America in branding on products that may be old or new?
Sure. The thing is, it's all a work in progress. And I think the first sign was acknowledging that we had a challenge across the food mascot industry. And specifically, we have to get rid of food mascots. That was the number one first kind of priority. Now it's looking into the future. Who represents the brand? What goes into representing the brand? Do we use name and likenesses? So when companies are coming up with new brand names and new positionings right now, there's a much wider aperture of consideration, and where that lands depends on the brand and the category. But the most important thing here is that diversity and inclusion is a domestic emerging market. We need to look at this as a business opportunity to widen our customer base and to ensure that our current customer base feels like they're included in the packaging and branding. So it's a long process, but in a very short time, we're making a lot of change. Once the change happened with Aunt Jemima and then Mars followed with Uncle Ben's, it's been a cascade effect that we can now evolve through.
And the discussion does not stop here. Unfortunately, we have to go to commercial break, but we look forward to your return to our program in the future. All the best to you. We will be
Thank you so much.
Hey, investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.